All right. Yeah, this is not fun. That was not a good one. Where'd everyone go? This is dirt. Well, you guys, are you still there? Let me know in the chat so I can start. Give me 1 second, be right back. Hmm. Is it? Hmm. The time was 3 p.m. Well, I'm just going to tell the story. And go from there. Let's see. The time was 3 p.m. I received a call from East Los Angeles, California. The exorcism was to take place in an apartment somewhere in the downtown area. I was led to a room where you could hear screaming and objects smashing against the walls from outside the room. As I entered the room, the possessed was sitting on the floor with a comb in her hair, scratching and cutting herself with the comb, while screaming and laughing at the top of her lungs. By the way, if you guys are faint of heart, don't listen to this. At the top of her lungs. Her stepfather and mother helped me take to the place here. Helped me place her on the mattress that was laying on the floor. She was only 20 years old, but appeared wrinkled like she was over 100 and had a horrible stench. While I was getting ready to perform the ritual, the mother ran to get a nightgown, for the possessed had already ripped her clothes off. She had open wounds measuring 2 to 4 inches. These were deep, open cuts, but no blood came out. Between her fingers were strands of hair she pulled out of her own head. I noticed her fingernails were still embedded in the walls, without blood indicating a demonic nature. Their living room was filled with neighbors who had heard the screaming and the banging, so I asked 3 of the neighbors to assist in holding her down. I began the exorcism ritual and asked the demon to identify itself. At this time, the victim's mothers fell to the ground, so I stopped the ritual, called an ambulance for the mother, who apparently had a heart attack. When the EMTs arrived, they had no idea what they were walking into. The mother was taken on a stretcher from the ritual room to the hospital. Oh, you are here. Good. As I re-entered the ritual room, the temperatures dropped 30 degrees. I restarted the ritual with 3 neighbors who were big, strong, muscular men, whose main job was to hold her down. She was so strong that one of her arms swung and broke the nose of one of the men who were assisting. Oh, no worries. Another neighbor came in to replace him. As she was held down, she began screaming, breathing fast, and saying, "You again, you poor excuse of a priest. This time you'll fail. I am strong and you are weak. I'm not going anywhere, but you are. Hell is waiting for you. I know how to take you down. Do you want to die? I'll kill you now. The possessed um, the possessed next focused on her attention on one of the men holding her down and said, Jose, does your wife know what you've been doing lately with your partner Bobby? You dirty little man. Jose was visiting one of the neighbors. He was from out of town. The possessed had no idea who this man was, much less the fact that about his personal life. She then bit down, ripped apart her lower lip and from her face, and spit it at Jose. The man who was holding her on the other side immediately ran out of the room in fear of his life. I was in the middle of the ritual and knew what was going on with the men who were holding her down, but I could not stop. I had to stay focused on what I was doing. One mistake could be fatal. Objects in the room started flying against the wall. 2 windows in the room were broken in from the outside. At one point, her body began to raise from the mattress. I thought to myself, I hope no one else decides to run out. I need all the help I can get and keep her restrained. I commanded the demon to identify himself. After the 5th day, he finally identified himself as Destruction. With the command to free the soul in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, she was finally free. The exorcism took 40 hours, 10 hours a day for 4 days. 1 death. The mother died of a heart attack on the way to the hospital. 1 personal affair revealed. 1 broken nose. 6 lives were changed because of this event. Because of the rising number of demonic possession cases, not enough exorcists to help. More people and paranormal groups have been contacting us for help with exorcism. The estimated number of possessions are said to be in the hundreds every day in this country. This is creepy. I came across this story a long time ago. And, yeah. A lot of things have, there's other stories just, in East LA of things like this. Thanks. Yeah. So stuff like this is just creepy, and to me it's real. So when we were at the Glen Tavern Inn, yeah, I'm down with that. I don't mind doing that. If we don't sell, it's all good to me. This is fun. Yeah. So at the Glen Tavern Inn in Santa Paula, it's considered one of the most haunted places in California. They say the most haunted is the Whaley House in San Diego, in Old Town San Diego. Yeah. But the Glen Tavern has been investigated by several people. It's been on the Travel Channel. It's been on Discovery Channel. Ghost Adventures have gone there and investigated. So when we were there, we were doing a photo shoot, kind of like a 1920s, because the vibe there is just like incredible. I mean, it's like original architect. Buildings, paintings, pictures hanging on the wall. It just looks like a old haunted house. It kind of reminds me of the Haunted Mansion inside. Yeah, so spooky time. You just missed. So after we're doing the photo shoot, we had rented a couple rooms. Now, I'll give you a little backstory of this place. One of the most haunted rooms, actually the haunted room in this place, I forget the room number, but we were able to get that room. Basically, we had the whole floor to ourselves. It was crazy. And so my buddy decided we were gonna, to do a ghost hunt. So we had the cameras up, audio recorders going, night vision and all that. So in the room that he stayed in, I was down the hall, but the room he stayed in is haunted by a lady who was a call girl, night prostitute back in the late 1800s. Because at one point the Glen Tavern Inn was a brothel in California. Oh, we can go to Glen Tavern. That's not a problem. So, what's up, KX? What's up? So, we had a one of those boxes that apparently detects electric. It uses energy, and I guess the ghost can communicate. It's called a spirit box or whatever. And they're asking it questions and stuff like that. Oh, well, I got ahead of myself. So anyways, the girl that haunted was, she was murdered in that room, and she was decapitated in the closet. And so her body was found there, and that's one of the stories from that place. And that's why, apparently that room is the most haunted. She has touched people. She has spoken to people, has done like, weird things where she's moved stuff. So getting back to, so we're in the room. There was like 5 or 6 of us, and we're sitting there quietly just asking questions. And some of the questions were like, are you here? And you say yes, or you'll hear them say next to you. Then you say, what happened to you? And then the words would come up dead. But one of the most scary things that happened that all of us heard was a lady's voice just talk. And it was hard to understand what that was said, but you can clearly hear. And what I thought it was said is, I'm here. And we all heard it. And none of us said it. And the crazy thing is, it's caught with our own ears. It's caught on audio. It's also caught on video. So you can see all of us are in frame. And there was only I think 2 girls there. I can't remember. It's been a while. But you can see they didn't say a word. Trying to catch sleep time. That's funny. So that happened. I mean, it was just mind blowing and everything. One of the other things that had happened was the temperature dropped. It was crazy. I mean, you really felt a cold presence in the room. Like it was, and we were there during October. And it wasn't that, it's California. It's actually was still warm, but in the room it got cold and no air conditioner was on. So fast forward a couple hours later, so we wrapped up. My buddy continues to let the cameras run while he slept. And all of a sudden, you hear on audio and video, from the video camera, from not one, but from 3 different cameras, audio, you hear a train in the background. And it was creepy. So next morning we asked the front desk, hey, does a train run? And it was about a little after 3 o'clock in the morning. And he says no, because this is a residential area, so the train doesn't run through here at night. And besides, the train that runs through there is a tour train. It's it goes from Fillmore to Santa Paula, and it's for, like, they do a Christmas tree thing and everything like that. So, but nothing at 3 o'clock in the morning. The crazy thing that 3 cameras picked up, and you can hear it. And I'm gonna find the video. I'm gonna see why it didn't show up. But yeah, we caught audio on that. It was freaky. Needless to say, that place had a lot of activity when we were there. So yeah, if anybody wants to go, there's a couple places we can definitely check out, you know. Let's see. There's I had created a map at one point with Google Maps about let's see, let's pull it up. Different places in and around SoCal that had some crazy backstories. Now, there is a story. They actually made a movie of this story. It happened in Culver City, California. Have any of you heard the movie The Entity? I think it came out in 1983 or something like that. Basically, it's based on true events. During the time back in the 70s, there was this woman. She was being like physically abused. I mean, people, they have it documented. They've got photos of like electricity coming out of the walls, out of thin air. It's just insane. Anyways, this lady was sexually abused in front of people that, and people thought she was crazy at first, and they saw that she was being physically attacked. Bruises would show up out of nowhere. She was being pushed to the ground on the bed and stuff like that. And they've got this documented. So at the time, I guess, back in the 70s, I'm not sure, but they ran a paranormal parapsychology group out of UCLA. And one of the people that was part of that group that was studying this whole situation was, I think his name was Barry Taft, and he was actually one of the first paranormal investigators. He was using, you know, science, you know, process of elimination, you know, trying to disprove that, you know, this is all, you know, there's a explanation for it. But yeah, he couldn't explain what was going on. I mean, this lady was getting bruises on her body out of nowhere. They just start appearing. So this happened in Culver City in a small little house. You can actually look it up on Google it. Type, you know, entity house in Culver City, California, and it's crazy. So she's being abused. She ended up moving to Texas, I think it was, and I guess apparently whatever it was followed her. The people that live in the house now say they had no problems. Nothing's ever happened. But this was one of the first fully documented cases where this has happened. And they made the movie called The Entity. And if you get a chance, check it out. I mean, if you want to be scared, it's pretty good. So, yeah, that was a creepy story. There's a couple other places that yeah, you could take tours and LA just based on some of the stuff that they do. But there's a couple other places. Now I'm going to tell you about a story. And I was a kid, and I was stupid. But you know, I was a kid, wanting to be, you know, be crazy and all that stuff, teenager, and went to this place in Azusa. It's called Azusa Canyon. And we were just traveling back. My friend just loved getting in trouble. Anyways, we followed him, and he's telling us about this place that is supposed to be haunted. And so we decided, okay, let's go check it out. Let's go check it out. So we went there. It's like, you know, 9 o'clock at night. We get up in the car and we go take off and go check it out. So we drive up the 605 freeway to the 210 to get to Azusa Canyon. And we start walking. I think we walked maybe a half mile to a mile, maybe. And we came across finally what my friend says this is the place. And it was like, from what I understand, it was an old monastery. Apparently it was like in ruins. It was like, you know, 3/4 of a wall left, you know, blah blah blah. And then you see a bunch of graffiti. Now the graffiti that we saw was just, it was uneasy, put it that way. The feeling that we had was uneasy. It was like pitch dark, you couldn't see anything. And there was a lot of like satanic writing on the walls. And just creepy stuff. Stuff I don't want to mess with anymore. But as a kid, I did. And, you know, there was 5 of us that were there. Now, granted, I'm not that tall. And I was there, and I was like, if I was soaked, I weighed 120, 125 at the most. I think I was a junior in high school. Thanks. I love it. I know, it's cool. I'm gonna add more effects to it as I go, but so we're there, and we're starting to hear things. It was very strange. It was like we weren't alone. Obviously, we thought maybe it was an animal or something, but it didn't sound like an animal because it sounded like people on, you know, walking on 2 feet. You know, you can tell the difference between an animal walking and a human being walking. So, anyways, we get to this place, and there's like this fire pit, and it was still warm. And apparently whoever was there had just left. Anyways, we're there, and then we hear, like, I don't know if it was the wind or just our imaginations, but we heard like a hissing sound, and it freaked us out, and we bolted out of that place. I mean, we ran the entire way. It was just insane. But apparently there's places like that. Now, that same friend of mine, he was a cool guy, but always getting in trouble, like I said. And so about a couple months later, we decide, hey, you know, let's go hang out. We were in not Hacienda Heights. We were in Glendora. There you go. We went to my friend's buddy's house. I never met the guy until that night. We're hanging out, and this guy was just creepy as heck, dude. I mean, it was, you know, this was in 1988, '89, something like that. And he this guy was just not right in the head. So we did one of the things like, oh, let's go check out this place and blah 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 and so on and so forth. And I remember going to this abandoned mansion in Glendora. It was in the hills, and again there was crazy devil worshipping writings on the wall. It was creepy, and I felt like I should, as a kid, you like, I don't care, whatever. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I don't think this is right. Well, anyways, there was writing on the wall, but it didn't look like it was from spray paint. It actually looked like blood. And I remember it was creepy, and there was just like this weird substance that was there, and there was like a child's shoe. It was just not, it was creepy. Well, we take off, and I go home. Well, a week later, my friend tells me, hey, did you hear what happened? Like, what? Did you see what on the news? I'm like, no. The friend that he introduced me to, that we went, the guy that was weird, he was into that. And during that time, there was a lot of like in Glendora, Walnut, Azusa, that area out there, in West Covina and stuff. There was in the parks, there was like animal sacrifices that were going on. Well, long story short, the guy that I met that one night, he was arrested for that, for animal mutilation and doing rituals. That freaked me out, man. I was like, I knew better, but as a kid I was stupid. It's like, man, I was just hanging out with that guy. It was a big thing on the news. I mean, the guy was completely off his rocker. Who knows what he would have done? I mean, I don't know. After that, a lot, I was done. That was creepy stuff. So, but yeah, that's the kind of creepy stuff. But I don't know if you guys have any stories. I know Trentham last week had a good one. Yeah. And I was a stupid kid. I was a really stupid kid. It could have been a lot worse for me as a kid. I mean, I think I turned out pretty good, but we'll see. But hey, if you guys ever want to go out to Laurel Canyon, that's the place you want to go. There's a lot of stories in Laurel Canyon that crazy things have happened. Sightings. I mean, you've got just on the other side in Studio City, just all the way through the canyons, talking about different crazy things. Wizard says no thanks, no amount of Pokemon cards can persuade me to do that stuff. Yeah, no, I get it. So I remember, I don't know if you guys remember the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, back in the 80s. A coworker of mine, she was in code enforcement with us at the city of Santa Clarita, and when she was a kid, she lived with her mom in Santa Monica, and yeah, she she told me the story. She was serious too, dead serious, and it lined up correctly too, because he was spotted there in Santa Monica. But she said that she was, oh, that's creepy, dude. But she was living in her apartment. I guess she was on the first floor or whatever, the house or whatever, and she heard somebody, and she was able to see a silhouette walking back and forth, back and forth. So she looked out her window, and there was this guy standing just outside her window. And because she looked, he got scared off and ran. Well, come to find out, it was Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. She doesn't know for sure if he was trying to get into her house, her room, but the MO kind of lined up, and she told that story. She was freaked out, and I remember she said they called the cops and everything, and it was crazy. Where I lived when I was younger in Santa Fe Springs, the next city over was Pico Rivera, and that's where he had one of his victims. It was like maybe 5 minutes away from where I lived when I was in Santa Fe Springs. So I mean, that is creepy. That is really creepy. Things like that happening. But yeah. And I think in Laurel Canyon, there's a mansion there that Harry Houdini lived at. I think it was torn down, but there was remnants of it. Yeah. Lots of creepy stuff. If you guys have any stories to share, please feel free. Feel free. Let's see. Got more stuff I can tell. So with Surrey, Richard Ramirez was your photography mentor? That's gotta be a stigma for that guy. That stinks. Now, have you guys ever been to the old Griffith Park zoo? That makes sense. The Griffith Park Zoo is a great place to go do photo shoots and everything, but it's also considered haunted as well. Oh, you're being serious? Oh, wow. That sucks. Man, that really sucks. Yeah, well, I mean, people, I don't get it though. I mean, it's not the same. There's, obviously there's more than one Richard Ramirez. Obviously it's not like it's a unique name or anything. It's just like people. I mean, I can't believe, but it's true. Like when the coronavirus hit, people were blaming Corona, and sales in Corona beer dropped because of it. And people do some crazy stuff. Yeah. So I want you guys, if you guys come across any good stories, man, send them my way. I will read them. I will definitely read them. Now, have you guys heard of JPL, right? Jet Propulsion Labs out in Pasadena off the 210. So Jet Propulsion Labs, aka Jack Parsons Labs. Jack Parsons was a rich person, scientist, was friends with L. Ron Hubbard, who wrote Dianetics, and Aleister Crowley. Or no, excuse me, I take that back. Anton LaVey, I believe, who was he was a crazy guy. Anyways, so a lot of people, there's a place called they call it the Portal to Hell, I guess. At it's right off the freeway too, and there's a rock face there that looks like a face. It's just crazy. I've seen it, but there's been a lot of stories of people. They think that there's a lot of experiments going on, not just about jet propulsion, but they believe that they were doing some ritualistic stuff out there at JPL in the early days, in the 40s and 50s. Anyways, it's funny, we're talking about JPL and jet propulsion and stuff, it's where they do rockets and stuff, and the song playing is titled Gravitational Pull. I don't know, that's kind of creepy. Anyways, but a lot of people think things happen. There's actually the story where people have gone missing. You can look this up too on Google. But there's one story in particular where there's a camp there, and Boy Scout camp back in the 50s, 60s, and a group, the Boy Scout leader, or Cub Scout leader, we're gonna go on a hike out there. And so a group of the kids, they go out there, maybe a group of 20, I think it was, start walking, and it's a straight shot to where you can see things from the camp to where the group was at. And one little boy was not feeling good. He says, I don't feel good, I don't want to go. So, okay, why don't you turn around and go back to camp? And they're able to see him. So he turns back and starts walking, and the Cub Scout leader, Boy Scout leader, kept on looking back to see if he's okay. And it wasn't that far. It was maybe like a half a mile, but you can still see the camp from where, because there's a straight shot up the riverbed. So this second time he turned back to look back at him, I guess the boy was gone. It was like literally he just turned over for a second and couldn't see the boy. Long story short, the boy disappeared. They saw his footsteps, his tracks in the sand and the dirt, and then all of a sudden nothing. It's like the boy vanished in the in the thin air. Don't know, but that's in Pasadena. So, it's over there. It's near the Colorado Spring Bridge in Pasadena. So, I don't know. Well, guys, hope you guys enjoyed some of these stories tonight. Yeah, they do. Gravity Hill. That's an interesting thing. Also, with Surrey, have you been to the one in, what was it, in Whittier? Gravity Hill in Whittier? There's one there too. But yeah, there's a place in Pasadena called Gravity Hill. There's a couple places in California where, I don't know if it's an optical illusion or not, but you can put your car in neutral with the engine off, get out of your car with, and the car will start moving uphill. I haven't been to the abandoned insane asylum in Pasadena. Now, my buddy who is my photography mentor, who I did the photo shoot at the Glen Tavern Inn, and he called me up one day, say, hey, we're going to do a photo shoot at Del Rio Hospital in Downey. That place is supposed to be creepy and full of things, and but I don't know, the city won't allow anyone to go in there. They do filming there, but there's been some creepy stuff that's happened. But it's an old insane asylum as well. And we were supposed to go do a shoot there, and I guess the cop that was supposed to let us get in had to be called away, and I forgot what happened exactly. It was during some kind of I forgot what happened recently, but they were announcing something, then they had to go on tactical alert, so that whole thing got canceled. And it was crazy. It was raining, and we're gonna go anyways and do a photo shoot there and do some exploring. But the one in Pasadena I have not been to. So yeah. That I have to look up. I'll check that one out. Yeah, oof. So you guys heard of the Elisa Lam case, right? That would be funny, a ghost cop. That would have been nuts. But you heard about, the Cecil Hotel and Elisa Lam, that story, how she disappeared and she freaked out. She was talking to somebody. They have her in the elevator. Oh, it was all over the news, man. And anyways, they did a story on it and found out how, basically it just shows you how the internet can just run with things. A lot of police work that was done during the case, information was not communicated correctly. Long story short, she ended up being found. She was in an elevator. They caught her on film, and they believe she was talking to somebody. She was freaking out, looking at the outside like she was scared that somebody was coming. She kept on creeping around, looking around the corner through the doors, and then that was the last anyone's ever saw of her. People at the hotel were complaining about the water, and it was tasting awful and it was brownish and all that stuff. Well, come to find out, the maintenance worker goes up there. He checks the water tower, and she was in it, decomposing for about a week. So they call the cops, found her. There was a lot of things saying that it was supernatural and all this stuff, but what it boiled down to was this, is that she committed suicide. The latch to the water tower was unlocked, so she was able to go in there. They found out she was bipolar, and she was not taking her medication. But for years, people had speculated it was like supernatural, something demonic was chasing her, but it was nothing but she was sadly bipolar and wasn't taking her medicine, and things got out of hand. A lot of evidence show that she didn't take medicine. She was acting strange at a bookstore and so on and so forth. Prior to that happening, it was, but could you imagine drinking the tap water there and telling the front desk, "Oh, something's wrong with the water. You're drinking decomposed body." That was disgusting. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, that would scar me for life. Hence why I don't drink tap water without it being filtered. So, all right, you guys. Well, I got more stories, but I gotta get ready, get going. So, thanks to you guys for hanging out with me tonight. We'll be back on Wednesday. I'm scheduled for Wednesday, and I don't think anything will be there. Stop me from coming on Wednesday night. So I'll be on at 7:30 Pacific time, Standard Time. Red rum. Yes. But I got more stories. And I actually, it's crazy with Siri. I wish I had the picture still, but I actually visited the place in Long Island, Amityville. But I'll tell you about that later. So thank you guys for hanging out with me and sharing some of these stories with me. I will continue to do this. All right, you guys. You guys have a good weekend. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Bye.